My talk is about, yes, INSDC, the sequence database collaboration. Um, Probably most of you already know about INSDC, but let me review it briefly. It's a collaboration between DDBJ in Japan and also NCBI in the United States and ENA at EBI Europe. And we provide these databases. Most well-known is probably GenBank for um, short sequence annotations, and also, yes, European Nucleotide Archive was once called EMBL, but now it changed its name to ENA. And DDBJ keeps its original name for over 30 years. And we have underwent structural changes. And nowadays, when you submit a sequence to one of us, um, you need to first register biosample or bioproject, this metadata first. Then after obtaining metadata ID, you will associate the actual sequence to this metadata to complete your submission. So nowadays, you need to submit not only sequence information, but also rich, huge amount of metadata. And in the past 2 years, we have undergone big restructuring of our website. When you visit insdc.org website, then it's whole new. Everything is new. So please look at our website to the recent changes. One most big impacting change is this requirement for spatio-temporal metadata, meaning when you submit your sequence, you have to describe when and where the sequence was obtained. Ideally, not only country name, but also latitude and longitude, especially when they are taken from the high sea or other inland area. So this is a big change. We actually mandating this information for all of our submissions, starting from the next December. The announcement was last year, but these 2 years are a kind of transition period. And we also planning to expand our membership, not only our 3 data centers, but also China is coming in probably very soon. And also we are expecting other participants from different regions like Africa or South America. So we are expanding our membership to other continents or global regions to cover more global information. So this kind of change has been, yes, drastic in the past 2 years. Why? Because we are changing to align with this big treaty, Convention of Biological Diversity. It's an international treaty. Actually, the COP16 is just now ongoing in Colombia, South America. And the treaty itself is more than 30 years old. The 3 main objectives is first, the conservation of biological diversity. Okay, it's common sense. The second is sustainability use of the components of biological diversity. Okay, understandable, very, very good. But the third one is, yes, at stake, the fair and equitable sharing of the benefits arising out of the utilization of genetic resources. By this word, benefit sharing, it literally means monetary sharing and also non-monetary sharing. And this aim has been the culprit in the past 30 years. And probably you know this was Nagoya Protocol in 2014. This Nagoya Protocol is an exact procedure to share benefits arising from the utilization of genetic materials. So if you are experimentalists, when you obtain genetic resources from or biological resources from other countries, you need to exchange first prior informed consent, PIC, and MTA, Material Transfer Agreement. That's for materials. But a big change was made in 2022. This Nagoya Protocol was kind of extended to digital information. Now we call it digital sequence information. And in COP15, in the last COP, now ongoing is COP16 right now, but in the last COP 2 years ago, Kunming Montreal meeting, it was decided, it was agreed upon all member countries that biodiversity to raise financing, biodiversity finance of 20 billion US dollars per year, huge amount. And also we decided to share benefits arising from digital sequence information, including databases. This is huge change, isn't it? And it was big shock to us, of course. But a similar decision was done in other fora, other international fora called BBNJ, Biodiversity on Areas Beyond National Jurisdiction, meaning the high sea. And also similar discussion is ongoing in the WHO Pandemic Treaty. It's not actually a treaty, it's not legally binding, but in this pandemic treaty meeting, yes, benefit sharing from DSI has been discussed. And another famous forum called FAO, PGR-FA, Plant Genetic Resources for Food and Agriculture. In this forum, again, benefit sharing from DSI has been discussed. So we, as database managers, we need to think about benefit sharing arising from sequence information. And here, yes, I personally fully agree with UNESCO Open Science recommendation, but it is a recommendation, it's not legally binding, whereas CBD is a treaty. And also Nagoya Protocol is a legally binding procedure. So the decision by COP15 and 16 is very, very severe and important to us. So here, to this community, I would like to ask, does DSI include images? Maybe, because not only a few, but many countries, mainly developing countries, insist that digital sequence information includes not only sequences, but also products or derivatives arising from sequences, such as protein sequences or protein structures, or even metabolites produced by those enzymes. So how shall we license data to align with this treaty and compatibility with ongoing fora, and not only CBD, but other fora like other fora like Pandemic Treaty or BBNJ is important. And of course, as data principles, we want to respect fair principle, the care principle, and trust principle. But here's the big challenge. Depending on the forum we look at, open access or fair data policy is different. Convention of Biological Diversity basically says data is owned by each nation. So open access decision or fair decision should be done nationwide. But BBNJ is the treaty for the high sea. It's the common sea, public sea. So of course, the data must be open access, fair to all countries. But as you recall, the COVID-19 pandemic, WHO Pandemic Treaty basically says data is not open access. So depending on the forum, and the decision is quite different. Why not open the data for pandemic information? Well, if you recall, the Omicron variant during the pandemic, there was travel ban to South Africa. And because of this travel ban, South African economy had a huge damage, almost devastating damage due to the announcement of Omicron variant, but we could do nothing to help South Africa. And in addition, only this little percentage of vaccine has been distributed to low and middle income countries, whereas in Japan or in the United States, in developed countries, huge amount is exposed. So this kind of digital divide or even disinformation was a big issue in the last pandemic. And we need to fix this. And there's a really good report about open science published from the UK government. And it talks about incentives and also high quality metadata, investment for the long term. I really recommend you to read this report named Intelligent Open Science. So having looked at these changes in the last few years, INSDC is really striving to change ourselves into a more global entity. And we want to guarantee data backup and exchange throughout the world. And of course, China and India, other global countries are joining us in not this year, not next year, but probably in a coming future. They are joining us. So we need to keep all submitted records permanently among all these players. And of course, we want to guarantee fair and trust data principles. But I personally think the care principle is problematic because letter A of the care principle stands authority to data control, but we cannot give authority to control data to anybody, not only indigenous people, but not even for data submitters, we cannot give the full control of data. So we are, yes, against the care principle, but of course, for fair and trust, yes, we can comply. And capacity building is very important, especially when developing countries are joining our community. This is my last slide. In conclusion, all scientists should know about the discussion of international forum, especially CBD, and also BBNJ and pandemic treaty. The current system is not clearly not sustainable. So we need more discussion to support us to keep all records permanently. Currently, INSDC is exchanging 20 petabytes of information, 20 petabytes right now, and the amount is increasing rapidly. Usually it doubles every 3 to 4 years. So we cannot sustain all raw data at each data center. So we need to reduce the total amount very soon. And future repositories support data provenance. So we need to be really careful about the country of origin of data. So for image data too, probably original country or data origin is quite important considering those international fora. Okay? So equitable, fair and equitable access is very important. So far, INSDC has been committed to equal access, but it wasn't equitable. And we need to change from equal to equitable from now on. This is my message. Thank you for listening.